This must be the Special Effects Tour. What's up, Chris?
What's up, man?
Man, it's great to see you as always. INDIEPOWER in the house. We know Strange Music is bringing it.
All the time.
Man, it seems like it's getting bigger every year.
It is, man.
The operation, the trucks, the acts, the more fans.
Yeah.
How's it feel to be part of that growth?
It's a blessing, man. I mean, it's something that we expected to happen, though. You know, we planned for it, I should say.
Yeah.
You know, to happen this way. And we worked and created our music and created our show and created everything to be able to align with, you know, with what we thought our success would be. You know what I'm saying? So we appreciate it, but it's not a surprise because we wanted it to be this way.
No, it was definitely a goal. I know you haven't fully reached it.
Yep, no, we have not.
If you ever fully reach it, then you're on a downward slide.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a finish line. I don't know if there is a finish line, man. I don't know if there's a point where we say, man, yeah, we're successful enough. Let's just chill. I don't think that. I don't think that. Like I said, I don't think there's a finish line, dude. I think we just keep going and keep going and keep going until we can't anymore.
Yeah. I mean, if you enjoy the adventure, every day is a finish line in a way.
Okay.
You know,
I'll
every day's a birthday and New Year's, man. If you're in the right mind state.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but man. I'm enjoying the ride, man. It's wonderful.
And it's amazing to see because it wasn't a major label that did this. You guys created a major label.
No.
And now the majors want a piece of it, but what can they do? You're already on such a roll. It's amazing. Yeah. You know.
We busted our back, man, doing this, man, and not like I said, I said it in a couple of songs, man. We didn't send any demo in to anybody. We did this by having, you know, elite music, elite lyrics, elite show stage performance, and people just you know, through word of mouth and through the internet, and all the fans just blasting it out to everybody, man. It turned into what it is, man.
Well, that's got longevity. You know, there's a lot of people that have a hit and then it dies off, and then 15 years later they're on the oldies circuit doing their one hit. Right. But you know, it's an organic growth that really is not based on any one song, you know, any one album. It's really the quality of the performance.
And others, but but there's not anything that's based on any one song. You're right.
Yeah. Well, I know the roster continues to grow, and then sometimes you got to trim the fat. Some people look at it a different way, but really, you know, when this money, you know, gets talking, it's like we said, it's not really the goal line. So why change up?
Right.
If anything, it just helps the team grow.
Right.
You know, bigger vehicles, you know, the tour bus, man, it's like taking your house on the road here, you know. I mean, you got the comforts, you know, with the team, everybody hand on their spot.
This tour bus is well deserved, dude. We spent years in the cars and trucks and
Sprinter
vans
and all that.
Yeah, man. I was actually, when we first, you know, when Trav first came off the road, man, I was actually driving us everywhere. I would drive 15,000, 20,000 miles a tour and perform, man. So like I said, we're the blue collar workers, man, of this hip hop thing.
You had to drive, or you wanted to play that role?
Both.
Okay.
Both. No one's ever said that. It was both.
You know,
because I had to, and we could have got somebody else in there, but once we flipped over, like on this day here, once we flipped over, I didn't trust anybody else after that. So, you know, you have to have a commercial driver's license to drive the Strange Music vehicles. I was like, give me a CDL, man. I'll take us. Yeah. And I did it until we got to a point where we could take, where we could afford to, you know, to lease buses.
Well, then you appreciate the driver more because you had done that yourself.
And I used to sit up front with the driver for like the first 2 weeks of tour just to see how he was doing, man, because like I was traumatized, so I didn't trust anybody to drive us, man. You know, so I got to get home, man.
Yeah,
I got to get back. So
an accident like that really brings you closer together because you realize that every day is, you know, a blessing.
That's right. Yeah, man. You know, these are my brothers, man. You know, me and Tech been doing business for a long time, and we end up getting this, you know, brotherhood, you know, with other people. You know, Muggs, our security, the merch guys, with everybody, man. We end up, you know, I always end up forming this type of brotherhood. If you got to live with people, you might as well try to at least get along.
It's like a sports team.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, man.
You know, you're trying to go for the Super Bowl and the playoffs and all that, you know. That's what it takes, you know.
Right.
Well, I know you keep making great music.
Thank you.
You obviously collaborate, you know, with Tech on this live show. And I know you grew up singing, church and all that. I mean, what is it like sometimes now to go out and you got this big rock festival and there's 20, 30,000 people out there and they're here to see Five Finger Death Punch. They're here to see Rob Zombie and Rise Against and all this, and Slipknot. And now all of a sudden, Tech-9, KRIZZ KALIKO fit right in and didn't really, you know, rock the boat.
Yeah.
It's all great music.
Well, you know, in those cases, man, we come to prove a point. You know, we come to prove a point because there's some people that would be like, I've been to those, we've played those festivals, and there's people in the crowd like this. Because they feel like these guys aren't metal, like why are they here? They're not rock. But we are everything, man. We do every type of music. So we can fit in on a country tour, on a rock, metal, on rap, on a reggae. We can fit in anywhere, man, because we already are super diverse with you know, how we do our music. So we're there to prove a point. I'm there to kick these people in the nuts with this music, and they usually enjoy it. Sounds really sadistic.
Well, I mean, you look at Rick Rubin and the Beastie Boys and doing No Sleep Till Brooklyn and Fight for the Right to Party. I mean, it's all all great music. You know what I mean? They weren't playing guitars, but they sure rocked the crowd.
Yeah, man. You don't have to be a fan of our music to enjoy it, man, to enjoy that show. That show is super entertaining, whether you've heard us and like us, or whether you've never heard us, or whether you even don't like us. You're going to. By the time we played crowds that looked like they were going to hate us, and by the time we got to our third song, man, they were rocking with us, man. Every time.
The horns in the air.
Every time, man, it's been super infectious, man.
Incredible stuff, you know. I mean, when you basically put a tour together like this, what's the chemistry? What's the right chemistry to find the right acts to tour with? I know obviously Strange has got, you know, a roster involved, but, you know, picking some of these outside acts, how do you do it to find that balance?
I don't know, because I'm not involved in that process. I have no idea, because there's certain times where I'm even like, I wonder how that's going to work out, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, sometimes they love them and sometimes they don't, you know. We just been blessed that when we get on tour with other people, that we usually end up, we found a way to make us work with everybody else, you know what I'm saying? Now, everybody else being on our shows, I don't know. I have no idea how that works, you know. I don't know if it's a business situation, if it's a, you know, if the fans are going to love it or not, man, you know. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, so, you know, who knows?
Yeah. Well, when you put together a show like you guys are doing right now at such a high level, take us inside, behind the scenes. How are you and Tech piecing this together as far as the, you know, the performance, the, you know, how you interpret these songs visually?
I know with me, man, sometimes I make songs just to perform them. Like or if Tech and I make them together, we know we're going to be able to perform this. It just feels energetic when we record it. By the time we put the shows together, we talk about it and we get together. We put the show together in the studio, you know, at the same time. Of course, they're doing it together. And then Tech, because like, for example, with this one, he's been, with this show, he's been doing a lot of press for special effects album release. So I actually am generally in charge of the band. So I work with the band and get all of the stops and get all of the little, tighten up all the screws. And then by the time he comes back, we're already ready. You know, I already got them ready for, like, because we have like a lot of dynamics in our show and some theatrical parts and things like that. So we've been doing it so long, man. It's like we don't even really have to talk to each other except for the song selection, except for the playlist. We don't even really have to talk to each other, but that's typically the way we put it together. Put it together in the studio, and then the band is a newer thing for us.
That's what I was going to say.
I perform with a band.
Now you take it another level, like Jay-Z, like Snoop Dogg. I mean, there's a live band involved. Why was it so important to add those elements? Is part of that because, you know, you're doing some of these rock shows now. It's visually a little more stimulating than the DJ track. It
is, man. It's more stimulating, and we just want to keep going up, man. You know, I perform with a band when I tour by myself. Sometimes, half the time I do, half the time I don't. But you know, because I sing a lot, I always wanted to have a band. Plus, coming from a church and a theater background, you know, I was used to working with, you know, with horn players and guitar players and drummers and stuff. So, you know, we talked about it for years, man, and then we finally did it on Band of Psychos a few months back, and then we just decided we want to make it a permanent thing, man. And so, like I said, I usually work with the band, and me and Tech pick the songs out, and then we work it out, man. You'll see, man. It puts our show on another level, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be hard to let stuff out of the set because every new album you're adding new songs. Someone's got to leave the set.
Yeah.
That must be a hard decision sometimes.
Sometimes, but we have staple songs that are always staying there. You know, we got the Einsteins, the I'm a Player, the Areola, Titties, you know, the songs that people want to hear that we know we can't get off stage without doing those songs. So, so those will always stay. The other ones, you know, they can't be interchangeable because we got lots of music. And we got lots of energetic music. So it's, you know, it's not a super tough decision, but it does take a process.
Mm-hmm. And with your latest music, obviously you got the big multi-million-dollar studio now there in KC.
Right.
You got the, you know, the inspiration. All your brothers here are kicking ass. What does that bring your music to now at the next level? You feel that ability now to keep growing?
I mean, as far as my, you know, the other label mates go, that it's always just friendly competition now. You know, and that's inspiring to me. I don't need a $4 million studio to create music, though. I can do, you know, I started doing music in a studio where we were kicking beer bottles over, and, you know, everybody got half-smoked blunts and stuff, you know, on the counter. And so you don't need that, man. You got a good mic, a good preamp, good ideas, good hooks, good beats, man. I mean, you can make really dope music because everybody doesn't start like that, but people still make hits, you know what I'm saying? And they don't have now, but it is inspiring to know that our music that we made, the beautiful music we made, bought this stuff. You know what I'm saying? When I look around, I'm like, wow, we made songs that was able to get us marble floors and da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Like that's inspiration to keep going. But life inspires me to write my songs, though. So I you know, I can do that in a dungeon with a mic. You know what I'm saying? If I had to.
Sure. Well, again, your creativity is at such a high level, but I know the business is so important. You know, to not be that dumb artist that just, you know, gets the sucker deal. Why is it important for artists coming up these days to know something about the business? Know that it's not just about the music, but as great as the music is, you want to shine like that in the business, the marketing world, the promo. You guys, besides the sports team, you're like a, you know, political candidate going out there seeking votes.
See, to me, man, it's like, you know, common sense. To me, it's common sense. Like, if you don't want to be back working at Burger King after that hit goes away, then you're gonna have to get you're gonna have to, you know, get your business acumen popping. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to educate yourself about business, just period. You know what I mean? And know that the record company is definitely going to generally benefit a little bit more financially, but
they're taking a risk.
They're taking the risk, man. And any investor, no matter what the commodity is, because you're the commodity in music, whether it's orange juice, whether it's coffee, whether it's gold, whether
real
it's
estate,
musicians, whatever, real estate, whatever. You know what I'm saying? They're taking the risk, so they stand to benefit more. But you got to know, well, especially once you get your weight up, then you can possibly renegotiate. You know what I mean?
Leverage.
But for the most part, man, you know, it's a hobby for people. It's a passion for people, and you got to be able to split that and think about your business, man. If not, you know, I'm not saying that people are trying to take advantage of you, but some people will, some people won't. But you got to know what your worth is, and you got to, you know, like I said, if you don't want to be homeless, you don't want to be, you know, because a lot of us that are creative people have a tough time working a regular job. So if you don't want to go back to that, you better get some business sense and some common sense about yourself.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you negotiate what you can, but then both sides live up to the deal. You can't feel sorry that these people made a profit. That's the deal that you struck. Maybe it was the best leverage you had at the time.
You can't be mad at that, man.
You know?
You can't be mad at them. Because
easy for artists to say, I shoulda, woulda, coulda.
If you make an iPod at the factory, you're not going to be making as much money as Apple makes. But what you do is, you know, like what I do, I try to make those big songs, and then you can go back and talk to, you know, the powers that be. Because it's not, a lot of times, it's not about what you're worth. A lot of times it's about what you can negotiate. You know what I'm saying? So that's the artist side of it, you know. And then I want to become the exec so I can do the same thing because I admire them.
Pass the torch.
I actually admire the execs. I admire Travis in the way that he does the business. You know what I'm saying?
The Jimmy Iovine's.
Yes, Jimmy Iovine's, all of these guys.
I mean, any of these guys have
absolutely. And being able to segue that into other, you know, to headphones, to a restaurant, to whatever you want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, amazing stuff. Well, again, we can't wait for the new album.
Yeah, man.
All the great stuff coming from Strange Music.
Yeah.
I know the special effects tour is rolling heavy. Thank you so much, Chris.
We out here, man.
Appreciate
it. Peace.